is Body Culinary, and I thought I would go live today for the holidays. I hope wherever you are that you are resting, you're well rested, you are sharing time with family. Hopefully you're enjoying the scenery. You're enjoying the scenery if it's snow, or if it's a tropical environment. Hopefully you're taking the time to really enjoy the scenery. I like to say look up. A lot of times we don't look up. If you're around mountains, a lot of times you don't look up or look up at the trees or the fruit or whatever is available to you. So today, I thought we'd have a communication about who deserves your change. We're just a few days away from the new year, actually, at least on the Greco-Roman calendar. So this is when people usually start panicking, or we go through the same thing because we are definitely conditioned creatures of habit. So we start going into the whole New Year's thing. And how do you determine if this year or this particular period will be different? Are you going to change habits? Now, I'm not there with you. I can't see what you're doing. You know what you're doing when you're alone with yourself, right? Though I don't know if many of us would be willing to admit by now that humans, we have a tendency towards a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's like a big disconnect between what we observe, what we know we need to do to improve our health or improve our bottom line, in contrast to what we are actually doing, what we do on a regular basis that's going to give us specific results. We have to do it for the job, but we often don't enact it on a consistent, regular basis for ourselves. So the question today, I invite you to grab your journals, your tools for self-reflection, and I invite you to not be so passive this year. If you're really looking for results, there are some significant nuances that we are leaving out. So grab your journal, your notebook, your tools for self-reflection, and we're going to dive in. My name is Kwasa of Body Culinary. I'm the founder of Body Culinary. I'm a professional chef, have been a trainer, and have been in the realm and the work of healthy eating and fitness for going on 4 decades. I'm classically trained as a chef, graduated from the Institute of Culinary Education many years ago, have been on a journey of raw foods, living foods, vegetarianism, veganism, as a fitness competitor years ago, going back to fish and poultry. I've done just about every type of dietary angle that you can imagine. So many years ago, I arrived at a point because I was like, it's too much back and forth. I embraced the principles of whole, fresh living, primarily living in unprocessed foods. Why? Because those principles, and that principle is independent of the label or whatever trend is coming around. Because the trends, they cycle back around over and over. Right? So I figured, how can I stay stable? And you might hear fireworks, so there are a lot of fireworks that go on in Central America around Christmas. So I was wondering, how can I avoid dietary extremes, going from one extreme to the other, and to be able to make consistent progress? I knew from a young age that I wanted longevity. I seek longevity. I come from a family pattern of self-soothing with food. I come from African American. Greetings. I come from African American and Afro-Caribbean heritage, right? So I grew up with 2 different flavors of pig feet. The Bayesian side, the South, and then also the African American side. So my family are really, really good cooks. We're very, very flavorful cooks. And I was able to distinguish patterns along the way. I also have a lot of family pattern of diabetes, high blood pressure, resulting cancer coming from the lifestyle, type 2 diabetes, which is a result of lifestyle. Type 1 you're born with. Type 2 is a result of lifestyle. And a lot of the population, by the way, is pre-diabetic, just one step away from being on medication. This would not be the time to be on medication, but here we are. If you're interested in this conversation, make sure you take a moment to like or respectfully dislike the video. If you're not interested in this content, subscribe. If you're interested in a real human with real skin, real natural tetas that we want to keep tumor and growth free. I'm not the food police. I'm not the hair police. We are all at different points in our journey. Though I can tell you, having been on the other side of a consultation of so many people where the doctor said there's nothing else they can do for them, and working in a holistic health center for several years, I have seen a lot. Also in high-end gyms, there are usually physical therapy offices, and with lots of corporate clients that have the money to pay for top educated trainers. I have seen a lot of pain and suffering, plus my own family. So I started out on a journey as a young woman looking to avoid, you know, if one of my grandmothers had been alive any longer, they would likely have amputated her feet. So I was wondering, how did we get here? How did grandma get here? So I was looking from an early age as a young woman to avoid patterns. I am definitely an observer of patterns. So subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this kind of content. I do a 5 a.m. workout, which is one of the core. My triple trifecta foundation is three lifestyle practices, which I mention them often. And these leverage lifestyle practices will serve you until your hair is white. So that's what you're going to hear on this channel. So subscribe, like, comment or dislike respectfully. Share it with someone who you know could benefit, who could use some support. And I also invite you to make good use of your time on the internet. So while you're decluttering, which is another lifestyle practice, I invite you to open up that drawer, get rid of some stuff that is taking up a lot of mental space and physical space, and play these videos on this channel, play them back as a support from yourself, being very intentional about supporting yourself. Okay, so that being said, who deserves, you're gonna hear lots of firecrackers, who deserves your change, right? So this is your journal, you got your tool for self-reflection so that you are not passive, you are actively engaged. I cannot emphasize that enough. You can pay all the money you want for coaches, but if you're just going to sit there and sit next to the trainer and think I bought a 20 pack of sessions, think you're not going to do anything, it doesn't work like that. And one of the biggest areas that's missing is this usually does not change. It doesn't change. So people are just scrolling and collecting and gathering more information and more tools, but you don't use them. And I have to say, well, I guess it's all humans, but especially women. Men, it's mostly women that I see that are usually interested in things that are spiritual and being mothers and nurturers. Many of us, we're interested in change, yet we don't go deep. We can be very, very superficial, and it's a whole orchestration, a chain of events as to why, not making us bad or wrong. Yet society judges us on how we look, and can affect how you eat, how you make your money, if you're safe or not. So we can see why there's so much, especially as Afro women, it's so much wrapped up inside of our looks. But we don't usually go underneath the surface to get to the root of what is driving our autopilot behaviors. So we're spending, and we try, and quote unquote fail, yet we seem to be stayed the same, or we don't really break past our plateaus. And those of us that do break past a plateau, we don't sustain it. We don't sustain it. So there's cognitive dissonance. We know, but we don't do. That's not to shame us. It is very effective to be able to ascertain a problem, right? Principles. Love principles over here. Those are the distinctions. If you don't recognize you have a problem, if you're a crackhead, drug addict, whatever the problem is, if you don't recognize a problem, you're not going to change it. If you don't acknowledge that you have an issue or a problem, we're a very prideful, egotistical creature. If you don't acknowledge it, if you can't assess it properly, right? Look at it from all angles. The firecrackers. It is highly, wow, these firecrackers are going off. It is highly unlikely that you'll be able to come up with an effective, efficient, sustainable solution if you don't assess it, if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't identify it, if you don't understand it. You're likely, and look at your own results, you're likely not going to be able to come up with an effective, efficient, sustainable solution. Now, if we look at this as a principle, this applies definitely when it comes to our health and our fitness. It applies when it comes to our hair. It applies to our economics. It applies and bleeds over into our choice of partners and mates. And the result of these choices, it takes up so much time, so much mental, emotional space, so much bandwidth, so much physical space, so much resources, leaves us depleted and blindsided. So to really go underneath the hood to see what is driving a lot of our behaviors can save you a lot of time. We can pay again for the training and pay for fasting, whatever, but a lot of times it's on a superficial, it only goes but so high. After the momentary enthusiasm, after the momentary enthusiasm, it fizzles out. The initial spending of the money, I bought myself something new, I started a new it fizzles out really quickly, right? Again, these are principles. Just look at your results. Many of us sit passively and just look at YouTube videos and we don't engage. And it's only but so much engaging you can do while you're online. But the reality is to change your body, right? You're not changing your body without changing your mind. It's impossible. And when I say mind, I'm not just talking about the physical organ of the brain. I'm referring to mental conditioning. Get your journal, your tool for self-reflection. Mental conditioning. Do you ever question your mental conditioning, right? We say a lot of different catchphrases, a lot and sayings that we don't even question. Have you considered your mental conditioning, how challenging it is to break your mental conditioning? Also, when you consider your environment, your internal environment here, right? The mental conditioning from years and years, your formative years and beyond. Your internal conditioning when it comes to your gut biome is conditioned to whatever you've been eating. Your gut, it's also considered another brain, is conditioned, is built in. Your chemical conditioning, right? The different chemicals you've been secreting and generating in your body with the things that you've been eating that calm you down, that take the edge off, that make you feel sedated or elated artificially, right? Have you considered your conditioning? Do you know how challenging it is to break? If you're thinking it's easy, and then maybe some people have just figured out it's not so easy, so have just resigned to, maybe many of us don't want to admit that we've actually given up. So our life has just been resigned to snacks and watching videos, especially as there are more and more women that are deciding not to engage in relationships the old-fashioned way or unfulfilling relationships. So if you look on YouTube, and I love nice things, by the way, and clothes and such, but I wonder sometimes if anybody doesn't find it disturbing that we have whole mausoleums, like whole shopping centers of clothes, more clothes than we could ever wear, like 30, 40 bags. Like, it just seems it appears it's bordering on mental illness. But if you look and you really investigate, if we're honest and we're self-reflective, do you consider that quite often it's a substitution for real human, safe human, fulfilling human connection? What else is there? But snacks, food, I like to eat. I was a junk food junkie. And enjoy nice clothes, but what about the experiences? When you also consider on social media, the stories going around of people offering their friends and, the fighting with the different housewives shows. And we look at how the behaviors are being modeled and trickling down to younger generations, how folks are treating each other. It's really no wonder why we are deeply engaged in sedating and self-medicating with substances masquerading as food. What else do you look forward to? At this point, folks are rubbing body parts to the point where it's taking people out. I mean, it's been years now. This is not even new information, but it's like more people are, putting out the numbers of HIV and AIDS. And it's like some folks are obviously not being forthcoming because it can't be this amount of numbers. And also the numbers for married folks are going up. So that means folks are just not humans and not honest. Have we figured that out by now? But we are just so enthralled with following the herd in the crowd. We follow the herd right off of the cliff. It takes a lot of courage today to not follow the herd and to tune into and to dial into your own, what I like to call your divine onboard innate intelligence, your internal compass, right? And in different parts of your internal intelligence, you have the ego and what I will call your essence, your internal compass. And they have two different different tones, and they are both driving our autopilot behaviors. East Coast Inn and Carolyn Shepherd, greetings. I recently learned that swallowing fluid only takes 2 seconds to reach the stomach, and the food takes about 8 seconds. Yeah, and most of us, who's really thinking about, most people, we're not thinking about how long we're chewing the food, if we're even chewing the food, because, Eureka, we are not present most of the time. I know that's shocking because we're such intelligent humans. We've been educated for jobs in the system, and we've got 1 and 2 and 3 master degrees, 2 and 2.5 master's degrees. We're so educated, but it seems very ineffective and even ignorant about how our own psyche functions, about what is driving our autopilot behaviors. Why is there such a need to sedate and to self-soothe with exogenous things outside ourselves, with exogenous substances? And it's all connected. So it can be overwhelming, but if we don't acknowledge it, you can't do anything about it. But once you acknowledge it, then there's actually a sigh of relief. Now you can start to strategize and to see how to effectively approach these things, right? You have more of an opportunity to effectively approach cognitive dissonance. The split mind, as I like to call it. There is a split mind. Do you see the patterns amongst us all human beings? I'm not immune. I may be at a different point in the spectrum, but I never get it twisted. That's why I study junkies, right? Don't ever get it twisted. Look at the patterns and the capacity of human beings. Human beings can be very violent. There's loads and lots more mental illness that has trickled up to the surface due to different world events. Now a lot of it is a lot more transparent. You can see now the split mind, the disconnection from the body. I mean, heck, many of us eat until our stomachs are going to literally pop. The stomach is actually really small, you know. Where is that coming from? What do you think? Grab your journal, your tool for self-reflection. Where do you think? Where does this propensity to eat more than we need, where does it come from? Do you ever question it? Let's backtrack for a minute. The 3 leverage lifestyle practices that I talk about all the time as a coach, that I implement myself and that I'm sure have been serving me and will continue to serve me until my hair is white. And I'm getting some grays in there. Just washed my hair so it's still wet, right? So we take care of the table, right? Because we got other things to do with our time. But my grays are coming in. So I just washed it and tied it down with a scarf. No oil. But I digress. So the 3 leverage lifestyle practices, right? They are peaceful consumption, as I like to call it. Peaceful, and I put an additional L on the peaceful, right? Because we want to feel satiated. One of the best diets is satiation. If you're full and satiated, then if I come and I offer you some of my live apple berry pie, you'll say, no, thank you. I would love to eat some, but I can't. I'm full. I'm satiated, right? So peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back. That means it's not clogging your arteries. It's not clogging your pores. It's not clogging your colon, right? It's food that your cells at a cellular level, you can recognize. The cells can recognize it. So the cells don't necessarily have taste buds. Though if you put something in at a cellular level and it doesn't belong in it, then that's an emergency response that's happening. The body is going to try to get it out. It's going to try to force it out. If it can get it out, you know, if I try to eat this pen, the body's going to upchuck it because this does not belong. This inorganic substance does not belong inside of the body. So we have an inflammatory response. Either inflammatory because of impact or inflammatory because at a basic level, we're taking in substances that have been highly flavored and been packaged to be attractive, but they just don't belong in the body. I love to break things down to the least common denominator, or to make it simple so you can arrange it in your brain. Remember, if you can't assess something, if you won't acknowledge something or a problem or an issue, it's unlikely that you'll be able to come up with an efficient, effective, sustainable solution. So the triple trifecta: peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back, a daily personal movement practice, aka exercise. I really like to reframe things. A daily, because it's something you do daily, there actually is enough time. A daily personal, so that means it's personalized to you, movement practice. It's not just for the aesthetics is great. I enjoy a healthy, fit body. Though that's not going to be enough to sustain you. That's why we're not consistent. After the wedding, after the event, the momentary enthusiasm, it wears off. Am I lying? Have you not experienced this in your own life? It has to be something more to keep you consistent. You know, if you're going to do this until your hair is white and have a movement practice and have muscle, you cannot have muscle without progressive overload. Safe progressive overload. You cannot. Cardio, for the most part, is not putting on muscle. And it's super important for all of us so that we don't fall and have hip fractures, because the muscles are moving the bones. No muscle to move the bones become weak, porous, etc., etc. So just because you like cardio, because you like yoga, doesn't mean you don't have to do strength. You don't pick your favorite. So I pick my favorite, my eyes, or do I pick my heart or my ears? I need them all, right? So it's time for us to grow up and mature up, and not just be now becoming just like kind of dumbed down like farm animals, right? We just wake up, go to work, hustle, and come back home. And many of us have become resigned to this is just the way it is. If you say so. But there is time, because if you look at if you put a screen tracker on your phone, you'd likely be horrified at the amount of time that we spend on these screens. It is enticing. It is highly addictive. I'm not immune. I strive to be aware of it and strategize with it, because we are wired a certain kind of way as human beings, right? So you've got peaceful consumption, a daily personal movement practice, and then there is garden/nature therapy. Why is that the third part? I would say it's a non-negotiable. And you can find access. Yes, you can, even in a cold environment. Believe it or not, you can find access to nurturing and engaging with plants wherever you are. I would say it's critical. Why? Because garden/nature therapy, engaging with plants, is going to trigger you. But it triggers you in reverse. It's triggering your nervous system, right? When you are witnessing violence, fights, things that cause fear in the human psyche, it's an automatic, it's a reflex, right? But if your mind is on fire with worry, you're worried about your job and your safety, just so much worry, and you go into the park and you're surrounded by nature, then you are triggered. The body automatically, the nervous system starts to relax. Your heart rate slows down. You start to look at your surroundings and the colors. So it is actually triggering your nervous system in reverse. So that's the triple trifecta. Peaceful consumption. You heard it here. I made it up. Garden/nature therapy, and a daily personal movement practice. These are leverage lifestyle activities. They give you back so much more. Your return on your investment are so much greater, I would say, than any other area of your life. This is the 401k of your vitality, these 3 leverage lifestyle practices. This is finally an area, if you prioritize them, you get something significant back for the investment of your time, your focus, your energy, and your attention. It's not just one way where you're sitting in front of a screen passively and snacking. No, your body's becoming stronger. Science shows that doing the challenging, hard things actually improves our brain health and our cognition and your cardiovascular health and your mobility, your ability to travel full range of motion, your limbs' ability to travel full range of motion around the joints, right? If you want a better mood, that's one of the first things I discovered. There's nothing that lights my mood up like physical movement. And I discovered that many years ago. Plus, I don't have to wait for somebody to do it, right? So that's a very small part of the population that gets that. The average person won't, because we are so enamored with these screens, and many of us are already checked out, physically depleted. And usually at the end of a day, because some people say, I don't have the time to do it early in the morning. I know numerous people that have worked the night shift and have very interesting job shifts. But your body does not care about all of that. It needs what it needs. For those people, it's rare, again, and I'm saying this as someone that's been in training and fitness going on 4 decades, the average person is not going to do it late at night. Men maybe before a woman, but the average person is not. Why? Because usually your mental, emotional energy has been spent already at work. You spent it all already. It's gone. So in spite of your best intentions, there's nothing left at the end of the day. So you go on like this and go on like this. You have no energy and you keep telling yourself, I'm going to do it right after work. But the reality is, more than ever, the mental, emotional energy and also the physical energy is not there. It's not making you bad or wrong. This is not about bad or wrong or blame. This is about, no, I don't want to preach. I'm just putting it out there. Whatever does not resonate, leave it right here. It probably doesn't apply to you. These are, again, principles. But it would be much more beneficial to take whatever it is in this conversation. Okay, I have a litmus test. I usually have litmus tests for most things, right? Because I'm fascinated by the human propensity and the tendency towards self-sabotage. And I'm equally, if not more, fascinated by self-actualization. Like if you look at those athletes or those artists, those people that seem to have no mental resistance, that don't seem to be inhibited or fearful about expressing themselves artistically, creating something that they want to put out on the market, or just something they want to create. What's their thought process? What's so different that they don't have the fear or the inhibition? So I'm fascinated by the self-sabotage where we'll destroy ourselves with drugs and alcohol and eating and promiscuous and risque, dangerous, deadly behaviors. And then those humans that seem to have a focus. Don't you ever question this? This is one of the reasons why we love athletes, because of their discipline. Discipline is a gift, right? But it all depends on perspective. The average person that's thinking of eating healthy, foods that are in alignment with the body and our goals, and fitness, think of it as a drag and a burden, something they have to do. The athlete is like they get to do it. They're on a whole nother channel. They're having a whole nother experience where they can't wait to train. So, and wait to move. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that with dance or creating something. Perhaps you can think and write in your journal, reflect. What are the things that you can't wait to do while you still inhabit a human suit? What are the things that you just can't wait to do? I can't wait till tomorrow to jump out of bed and get to do this. One of them for me is movement. Now, that doesn't mean that there are times where I'm not in the headspace. And I would say this season with my sister and I opening Crown Jewel has been like one of the most challenging times in my life. Fortunately for me, I'm a strategist. And I say all the time, I study junkies. I'm a human strategist. So I have so much movement built into my day that I don't consider it exercise. It's just movement. And I'm also very well aware, and maybe the average person doesn't think of this, the standard for movement is so low. It's in the toilet that we need these heart rate monitors and these pedometers, these things to track our steps. That's because we are so low functioning. We are so low functioning when it comes to movement. It's alarming, maybe disgusting. It sounds judgmental, but it's just, it's astounding and it's alarming. Just how the species has changed from being on the cell phones. Our posture has changed, our temperament, our tendencies towards rage. When we implode or explode on other human beings, it takes your breath away. So a lot of it, we're not questioning and we're moving at such a pace, a frenetic pace, that it feels almost like you can't stop. But all of it is here. And if you can't stop, if you can't make time for yourself, then what is the trajectory of your life going to look like? Even if, let's say you got good medical coverage. What's the trajectory of your life looking like if you're able to afford a good nursing home and somebody to have to take care of you? And let's say you start to become more and more immobile. You know, we lose our grip strength. We lose our, but not just the muscle. We're losing balance. becoming incontinent. Men can become incontinent. Most men have issues with their prostate today. Most men are overusing their male parts indiscriminately. As well, their colons are all backed up and clogged from not eating enough fiber and not enough fresh food. Many men, and if you're having, my sister's a cancer exercise specialist, whichever of the procedures you decide to pursue for your prostate or prostate cancer, one is less invasive than the other, but both of them will usually end you up with urinary incontinence. Now, these things are not being discussed with us in elementary school or even high school. We'll come out of school graduating with degrees and being on a career track for money, but being totally ignorant of how our psyche and our body parts work. So we're at the whim of whatever companies put out, and quite often a lot of the studies are kind of jaded towards who's paying for the study. So let me ask you a question. Whose best interest is it in to really understand what's going on with your body? The distraction is at an all-time high. It is what it is. But it's not about blame. It's about responsibility. So this may not sound too good, but people pay me the big bucks to tell them the truth. I pay people big bucks. I'm a coach that always has coaches in my back pocket. That should tell you something. But if you don't prioritize your food, right? And I used to eat 1 billion. One of the things I was addicted to was potato chips. I ate 1 billion, thousands of bags of potato chips, and had the audacity to wonder why I had so much acne. So much. I mean, I'm not totally anti-makeup, but if you've had a lot of acne, it is such a relief to be able to not have to wear makeup, especially over as you get, into your 50s. I'm on the other side of 55. So everything that you're eating is going to show up. There's not that much plastic surgery in the world, and now we can see why are we so late to the table. We have young women, and young men get plastic surgery too, not as much, but now are starting to look actually older, right? I just saw a piece on comparing French skincare to Korean skincare with all the steps and what the difference is. And now people are putting so many steps in the skincare onto their face that it's starting to erode the natural boundary of the skin. It's actually destroying the skin. It's too many steps. It's just too much. It's too much stuff. So, I'm going by, I'm simple over here. I'm going my grandma Lou, right? I knew both my great grandmothers, right? And so I'm not using soap on my face. Maybe a natural soap on my intimate parts. But I'm not putting all that stuff. I don't use sunscreen. If it's in my kitchen or if it's in the produce, that's what I'm using. And I'm comfortable with that. Just the idea of all of this stuff, I feel like it is causing absolute insanity. And folks just refuse to capitalize off of your daily personal movement practice, peaceful consumption, whole, fresh, and living and unprocessed foods you can recognize, and garden/nature therapy that you can't really put into a pill. How it affects your nervous system. How are you putting that into a pill? And then, of course, if you're prioritizing communication, right? All these people ranting and raving in the gender wars online. I'm like, how does it not occur to people to get some communication skills so you can have conflict resolution? This is the cause of so much stress, even in married couples, right? It's tremendous stress when you're coming home. Let's say, I've had one of my clients dramatically altered her body. Just fruits and vegetables and consistency with the workout. But I could see when she would leave the door, walk out the door to the gym, as soon as she got a call from her spouse or from her children's school, she had so much stress. And I remember watching her one day, I was like, wow. I don't know, she's likely going to undo all of this work, because when she goes out of this environment, and I like to make it a fun environment in terms of food and the healthy treats and my little basket after the workout. But once you have to go back out into the environment, into all of that stress, you're just triggered and you're moving at such a pace. I'm like, it's a setup for relapse. It's a setup for relapse if you don't create support for yourself. We say driving motorcycles with good weather, but that's consuming energy as well, so you need to be fit, correct? For example, someone hands you a bar of chocolate, nobody tells you to eat the whole bar. That's discipline. As someone that's a former junk food junkie, I have my own take on discipline. I'm always saying, I'm going to keep it a buck. The average person, humans are not disciplined. We're not. We're not disciplined with our mouth, and we often don't think before we speak. I would even say for folks who have been, and humans who have been exposed to deep traumatic experiences, right? Let's just say, not exclusive to Black and brown peoples, but let's say, I'm speaking from personal experience. If you've been exposed to trauma, physical, psychological trauma, societal trauma, and you give those individuals something to take the edge off, right? To chemically alter the brain or the nervous system. And they have unresolved trauma, unacknowledged trauma, it's unresolved. There is the likelihood that there will not be any moderation. Do you not see what a setup this is? It's astounding. Humans, we really are not thinking deeply. That is a setup for drug and alcohol addiction. You got financial issues. You've been traumatized or beaten or abused or mishandled. You live in a very volatile environment, and somebody gives you something to take the edge off. That person, those individuals are likely to become addicted chemically, right? But also mentally and emotionally, because if you can't escape the environment, you don't have the tools or the resources to resolve it. That's a setup for addiction. So the average person today, especially in the Western world, that often is so busy, if you have access to nature physically, you don't have the time. That is a setup for drug and alcohol addiction. Look around America. Look around. It's not exclusive to America, but it has reached a whole nother level. And it's like the cognitive dissonance. I have accepted and observing patterns that humans are extremely, something with us, are very cognitively dissonant. We have a split mind. I think part of it is a survival mechanism, but we are often in deep denial, because to not be in denial, to accept what something is, means you'll have to change. So there's the withdrawal, there's the ego death of our identity and what's real, what's not real, the sheer responsibility. It just seems mentally, emotionally overwhelming, the change. That's part of the nuance. There's several areas that we are really underestimating. And so the whole herd of humans that is marching and galloping forward in circles of gluttony for pleasure, to take the edge off, in contrast to the pressures of work when you finally get a day off. We just proceed with gluttony or shopping. With dopamine, now we know about dopamine. For more things that we can ever use or buy, we're more disconnected than ever from each other in safe ways, as well as very disconnected from our own internal compass. We have the ego that has been deeply conditioned in our formative years and reinforced by society. And then you have our internal compass. Most of us are not really comprehending these things. So we're not really understanding how to get to the root. And in the absence of this, this insight and safe spaces, we implode and explode on each other, or we just sit in our little spaces and we snack all day and we implode on ourselves. It's almost like chewing your hand off. We destroy our body temples in pursuit of pleasure as a form of self-soothing. Rosie, happy holidays. For example, someone hands the chocolate bar. So we don't do. I'm saying that this as a fitness trainer, as a competitor, I've seen all kinds of before all of the social media stuff. Again, this is going on 4 decades, me in this industry. I've seen a lot, even as a fitness competitor, that early on made me feel like, this is really not about health, right? Just as substances, but now this information is out there in terms of good perhaps a majority of fitness influencers are taking different types of substances. And so when you don't know any better as a client, you're holding yourself to these standards, right? And so now we can see this with young women pursuing plastic surgery. Now, I am too scared. And I just don't like the idea. It just doesn't feel safe to me, the idea of foreign substances in my body. But there's tremendous pressure, especially if you're a part of your new career in social media. There is pressure, just like an actor or actress. You know, this lifestyle is more accessible to the average person. There's the pressure to compete for a certain kind of look and for accolades and for likes. So people will do whatever is necessary to win the competition, to win the brand deal. You know, I remember with fitness competitions, it's less than 1% that's going to be at the top. And actually in the bodybuilding fitness world, the whole competition is a money making. It's a business. The suits, the coaches for posing, and the shoes, and the people that are vending at the shows, and the prize money, and the endorsements for protein powder. Not everyone's going to win. Social media does allow you to create more of your own other sources of revenue. But let's bring this back to us, because the average person is not a celebrity. The average person is not a fitness competitor. Though it does seem that most women of all ages now, right? Because now everybody usually has it's like being in a beauty pageant, right? So fitness shows are usually like a muscle beauty pageant, right? So most women, to demonstrate something to themselves, want to kind of fetishize being in a competition, right? But it usually does not last, right? I have close friends, you know, some of my best friends, we've all done fitness competitions. All of them pretty fit and healthy. But in the off season, people look totally different. So there's something that we're chasing, and we're a vain species. But this cognitive dissonance is causing us so much, it's costing us so much money and so much suffering, so much mental unrest. So what is at the root of this cognitive dissonance? Are you bold enough? Are you courageous enough to go down the rabbit hole? And what would you get for that investment? Well, you can get some relaxation, because I think we all deserve to feel comfortable in our own hair and skin. You have the opportunity to mentally and emotionally regulate your nervous system, to come to some kind of peace with your mortality and aging. What does the average person have to look forward to after 35, 45, 55? Society and folks ranting and raving on the internet say that it's a wrap for you. Folks are gaslighting aplenty. Folks with big guts, poor health, and receding hairlines are, you know, gaslighting each other. Can you just mature and become more seasoned, at the same time be relaxed in your own hair and skin? I think we deserve that, as well as being able to have our common sense, our cognition intact, so we don't have to suffer or be at the whim of mean people who are not being paid well to take good care of us. That's not a good look. It's actually very horrifying to think of sitting in a nursing home and you're asking questions or wanting somebody to tend to you, and people are walking by ignoring you. And literally, there are many younger people in their 40s in nursing homes now as rehab centers, and those centers can only hold you for so long. Right? So this brings us back to why it's so important to be accountable. We're 110% accountable for our own health. All right, so second part of this discussion: who deserves your discipline? Who are the recipients of the gifts of your discipline? So first of all, it's us, right? Because you are going to have to make withdrawals from the 401k of your vitality. So every workout, every good piece of fresh fruit, all of the fresh greens, make no mistake that those are significant deposits, investments into the 401k of your vitality. There's a lot of stuff. Let's not get it twisted again. This is going on 4 decades of experience, right? There's a lot that you can't put into the pill. Folks will have you thinking that, you know, because we're gullible. We'll buy anything. We'll buy the shortcuts. But the sleep, I know that's usually my biggest challenge, but the sleep, there's nothing like it when you are well rested and slept. Your nervous system has a response. Do you think just keep continually chemically altering your brain? You can only do that but so much. Your body, if it needs sleep, it needs sleep. If your body needs fresh food, if it's been heat processed and overly processed, you stick it into a pill. Do you really think it's the same thing? Do you really think that the pill is hydrating as fresh greens or something that you're pulling fresh out of your garden? Do you really think it's the same? There's no shortage of entities and companies willing to tell you good things about your ineffective, inefficient lifestyle habits and take your money. So we are 110% responsible for our results. So what are you going to do about it, about the cognitive dissonance, right? Is it really a priority? Are you cheap when it comes to yourself? Are you cheap? Do you, like, for example, with the potato chips, the fast food and the potato chips they're cheaper. But if you really had to take the time and to run the numbers, and you're eating more and more bags because the flavoring is good and, you know, it's spiking your insulin, and so you eat like, I don't know how many bags of it, you never get satisfied. Plus, it's clogging your arteries, giving you lots of acne. Ask me how I know. But if you ran the numbers, and I did this experiment as a young woman, a whole potato would be much more satisfying. A lot of nutrition is still intact. It's going to be much more satiating and satisfying if you eat the whole potato. And you can still season it really, really well. So these principles, it seems we've gotten to a point where we're immature, have a split mind, are in cognitive dissonance, so stressed out and overwhelmed, we're not really thinking of the children. And so we have. So if you think you don't have time, right? If we're cheap with the time, but if you don't realize, actually, if you ran the numbers, you would pay yourself first. You would get up early and get it out of the way, because that's likely the only way most of us are going to get some consistency. I'm giving you a gift for the holidays. I'm keeping it a buck with you. I'm being honest with you. If I have to look at the average person does not sustain healthy eating, does not sustain fitness because they don't have the habits. You don't wait for motivation, because that's too fickle. We're too fickle as a species. You don't wait for motivation. You rely on habits and the formation of the habits. And it's uncomfortable at first, which is why I highly recommend get some support. Shorten your learning curve. Something that's going to take you 35 years in contrast to 3 years. Which one is the better investment? I saw a young man the other day that was researching poverty. He was talking about the difference of different classes of people, who spends money, who manages money. He said the middle class manages money, poor people spend money, rich people invest money. Those are just principles. I love principles, because principles are independent of people and personalities. Those same principles apply when it comes to your body. So that being said, who is going to be the recipient of your discipline? Your children, right? Think about, if you're morbidly obese, think of the burden that is for your children to watch you suffer. How does that affect them emotionally and mentally, let alone when they have to pick out a bigger casket for you or deal with those health implications, or when your spouse has to suffer because even though you are self-soothing, and the reason for your self-soothing may be something that happened to you, yet if we don't address those things, then your spouse has to suffer and your children and family members have to suffer. So we're not in control of things that may have happened to us in our past, yet our lives are 110% our responsibility. And I can't say it's coming. It has come. It's come to a head. It has come to a head. So I don't know about the chosen ones, but people are making a choice, or even not making a choice is a choice. So if we choose to continue to sit there and to wait and to pray without acting, it's delusional. It's in ignorance. It's a lack of accountability and responsibility. More than blame, it's about accountability and responsibility. So what are you going to do? Well, I tell you what I'm going to do, because these habits serve me. The 5 a.m. workout, right? It's 5 a.m. Mondays. We're training sometimes. So members of this channel, I will stream some of those workouts on Mondays if you are a channel member. There's a 9-day renew and reset fast, which will be the easiest fast you have ever done. So it's not about beating yourself into submission. It's really about you understanding the principles at play. So you don't have to keep coming back, start and stop, to understand the principles of not depriving your body of nutrition, even on a fast. The average person, by the way, is ill prepared for a water fast. I'm just going to put that out there. And I'm trained as a fasting instructor. So, but the focus is nutritional fasting. We don't want to ever deprive the brain and the body of nutrition. So there's a way to do things so that you're not going to these different extremes, and learn how to prepare for a fast, to do the fast, and to break the fast, which most people don't do. So there's people all over the place. It's the ego that's trying to do a fast, which is why most of us are unsuccessful. Or it's like sitting on your hands for a little bit, and then you got to get off your hands and you just pick back up where you left off because you didn't understand the principles. So it's going to benefit you to invest in some comprehensive education. So you can literally start to make some lifestyle changes that you can stick with gradually over time. And you'll see the benefits in your skin, in your hair, when you take your time, do things properly with some support, are able to ask all of your questions, get some feedback on your form to see what you're doing ineffectively, inefficiently. Learn how to use a heart rate monitor so you can learn how much am I actually burning. See, these things will open your eyes, put a new set of eyeglasses on you so you can get a whole nother level of results. Especially, you want to be able to sustain and maintain results, right? You got to bust your badukas. It's challenging to put on muscle, but you need it. You need cardio for strong heart. You need the muscle to move your bones. If you don't have muscle, then every year you're losing muscle at a faster rate. There's no, that for the aesthetics, I know we're very vain. That's all your shape and your tone is right there. But that's also how you're going to be able to move the bones. And so if you have a trip or fall, you're not breaking your bones. So many of us are moving in ignorance, and we don't have enough comprehensive education. I'm not talking over anybody's head. I like to talk so that I can see the light bulbs are going off. Comprehensive education that you can implement, right? Hopefully when you leave this communication, you're inspired to get into action. So here's some of the action steps that you can take. Of course, keep your journal your tool for self-reflection, because if you're trying to sit passively and not engage, and you just jump on a call and just listen, you're not doing anything. You're not getting uncomfortable. Does that work? If you're not willing to be honest, I don't know what to say. Get a coach, someone that's going to push you, not to hurt you, but to push you past your own ego's sticking point, because the ego, which is a part of our intelligence, it wants to stay the same. It wants to stay high. It wants to stay comfortable. Even if that discomfort is the body wasting away, it registers as familiarity. It registers as comfort, right? So the ego is usually going to strive and has a whole storyline around maintaining the status quo. It is what it is. All right, so here are your tools, right? So download your copy of Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. That's number one. And this whole year, I don't wait for the New Year's because that's a scam. Waiting is a mentality. If you're waiting, then you're going to keep waiting. You've been waiting and wasting a whole lot of time, not capitalizing off of your time. So Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. If you want to join my private community, there is a fee for that. So there's a nominal fee for that. So you can have ongoing support throughout the year. You'll have access to ask your questions, and there are private postings and live streams only for community members. So there is the opportunity this year for community, or if you need a consultation. All right. Next is a 7-day nutritional reset. So you get access to the different entrances to private community, right? To meet you where you're at. And I give feedback to everybody that's in there, that's made that investment. So that has recipes and shopping lists in it. There's a 9-day renew reset fast. So that is consisting of 9 days of whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods, juicing. If you're eating cooked or lightly uncooked, to learn all the different principles of how to do a fast, prepare for it, how to do the fast, and how to break it properly. These are actually lifestyle practices. So that is something you can register for now. If you're dealing with lots of acne, as I have, there is Natural Beauty No Products. And also in that book, you'll see before, I have very, very fine hair. Before I lock my hair, just using to clip all my acne, food. So all of these different products and 20 steps, you can do it. It's not necessary, right? A lot of this time and energy, when I say take things off the table, the more distraction you can take away, the more energy you can reallocate from the distraction. That's time for your food prep. That's time for your movement practice. That's time for your garden and spending time in nature. It's life-changing to embrace these lifestyle practices and to strategize and prioritize engaging them. There is enough time. Most of us are not managing our time effectively or efficiently. I cannot express to you enough, get a coach, a qualified coach who you resonate with. One of the investments you'll ever make. Before you keep buying more clothes and trying to squeeze your body into more tight-fitting clothes, you can wear anything you want when you stay healthy and fit. You don't need to be so obsessed around covering up what you're uncomfortable with, right? So there's a 9-day renew fast. There is joining a private community and a 7-day nutritional reset. There's whole living foods in the hood with measures to fit your budget. You can also take the Living Passions Cakes class, the raw vegan cakes class. So that's available for you online. That's going to save you so much trouble because you want to have some things to look forward to. When you're trying, many people, to be quite honest with you, as someone who's eaten very strict living foods for over a decade. So now I do drink hot tea as a chef. I do experiment when I'm having people come down to Crown Jewel with recipes. But I prefer whole fresh living foods, first of all, because I find that the results are different. Even if it's healthy cooked foods, there are some distinctions and nuances. So a lot of those questions you're able to ask somebody that's not been doing it 2, 3, 4 years, that's been over 11, 12 years on this lifestyle. So this is not a diet at this point, right? A lot of times people are following folks that have just been doing something for 6 months or 7 months. So insight is so invaluable. It doesn't have to take you 35 years. So I invite you to avail yourself of coaches to shorten your learning curve so you can have a much more pleasant and intimate experience and have things, your movement practice, and have your food prep and all that catered towards you. If you travel, if you're a mom, maybe if you're a single guy, you got to do all of this stuff for yourself, right? It needs to be done. Your body doesn't give two peach pits about your schedule. It needs what it is that it needs. And this is also insurance into your future, right? So those are the options that are available. Avail yourself of community. I'll put a link right under this video so you can download the Spaces app. And once you have the Spaces app, you're able to see events and everything right there from your phone. You can also go to body-culinary.com. And also, as many of us have our devices near us, you can download follow the link, go to the Spaces app and download that, and you're able to see a lot of the happenings and the events and communicate with me right from your phone. So, cognitive dissonance. Will this continue to be the island that you are stuck on? Or you're going to be able, well, you have the option, you get to. You don't have to do anything, right? But are you going to choose to move past it? It takes investment of time, of energy, and resources. But I invite you to do an accurate accounting and see what are you getting back for wherever you're investing your time, your money, and your resources. Create a great day on purpose. Like, comment respectfully, subscribe. I invite you to share this video with someone that you know would benefit, and also to replay it while you are decluttering, which is another one of my favorite lifestyle practices that, again, gives you a lot back, a lot of return for your investment. Create a great day on purpose. Happy, blessed holidays. Register for the 5 a.m. workout, which you can do from your home. No gym is necessary. So that's one of my biggest points. It's a form of therapy, right? And if you have injuries or you haven't been working out in a long time, you have issues, any of the movements, any of the exercises can be scaled up or scaled down. If you need to do them in a chair, if you need to modify things, if you're moving from your home, the beautiful thing is you can be consistent. Again, one of the nuanced, big top areas that people are missing is consistency. It is such a big learning curve, especially if you're over 35. So we got things to do. There's a lot of life to live. So Hopefully you'll come along with me on the journey. Create a great day on purpose simply because you said so. And I will see you soon.